Hello and welcome to another Silent Ox Gaming video. Today we're going to be talking about one of my most favorite games ever released, Star Citizen. It's something that I've been playing now for a little over a year since Invictus launch week. And if you've been watching Star Citizen essentially from the outside, curious, maybe skeptical, this video is for you. I jumped into Star Citizen during Invictus last year with no history with the game, other than playing other space MMOs and space sims like Elite Dangerous and EVE Online. I saw some of the marketing for this game and I thought, hey, this looks really cool, but I also heard that it was a buggy mess. I heard that there was a lot of quote-unquote scams going on. So, you know, I didn't really know what to think of it, but I watched a lot of other videos saying that these weren't the case, so I wanted to get, an opinion for myself, right? So I went in with a fresh set of eyes saying, does this game actually work? And a year later, the answer is yes, 100% yes, absolutely, and more than it ever has. And to explain why, I want to talk to you essentially about things that have changed since I started playing and what's coming for the future and what's going to be currently updated within the next week here, right? So when I first logged in, the potential was obvious. There was a lot of rough edges. There was a lot of performance and inconsistencies that were happening towards missions, certain gameplay loops. While they existed, they didn't always connect anything to feel meaningful. Essentially, these missions kind of were like, just go and do this, go and do that, and you'll make some money out of it, right? You'd finish a run and wonder, what is all of this kind of building towards? I see the potential, the skeleton's great, but there's no meat to the bones, right? And that's the core thing CIG spent this past year fixing, not just adding content, but building structure. One of the biggest things that they've added is salvaging. It's become one of the more complete game loops. Mining and cargo hauling has developed real progression. Reputation, freight missions have much better consistency, and mission design got a lot smarter as well. Multi-stage objectives, better locations, and a lot more variety. And the universe itself has expanded with areas like Pyro and the Nyx systems starting to give you a better sense of scale that wasn't fully there before. But the change that all ties into all of it together is quite consistently the stability that has been added into the game. You can now essentially log in, run a full 5 to 8 hour session across multiple activities, which I've done without any crashes whatsoever, and actually finish what you started. Log in to your bed on your ship, finish a whole bunch of missions, land the ship, log out on your ship, and you'll be able to play fully without really running into any of those crashes, like I said, or potential game breaking bugs, which all sounds awesome. And you think about that, you're like, wow, well, shouldn't every game be like that? This is Star Citizen. And if you don't know, Star Citizen is an alpha game. It has not been fully launched. We are alpha testers. And with the PTU, you're kind of like a beta tester almost for the newest patch that they're going to be releasing, right? So there's so many different things and variables when it comes to Star Citizen, but the game essentially stopped feeling like a collection of systems held loosely together, and it started feeling more consistently like a game this past year. And this shift is exactly what makes 4.7 land differently than the previous updates. So 4.7 will be releasing next week, is what they're saying. So anytime between this week to next week is when it should be releasing. Maybe by the time this video comes out, it may have released already, who knows. But because 4.7 essentially isn't trying to fix the foundation of the game, it's essentially just building on top of the current foundations that they fixed already. So for example, I think the biggest headliner of this patch is crafting. The first time you'll be able to collect materials and unlock blueprints and produce your own weapon and armor, where previously you would have to go and buy your own weapon and armor. There weren't any blueprints, and the materials that you were essentially just mining or salvaging, you just sell to a system. Now you can actually use it to craft materials, which is really, really awesome. The bigger implication is that now it's leading to a player-driven economy, and that's really awesome coming from a game like EVE Online, for example, where the entire game is ran by a player economy. It's not ran by a fake economy or anything. It's ran by literal people going out mining, gas huffing, creating materials for ships itself, and selling that through the in-game stores that they have set up. through for the player economy itself. You know, I hope that that's where Star Citizen takes it, because that's going to be a phenomenal way to play this sort of game. It's something I always wanted for EVE Online. Like, you know, can I fly a ship and then go and do the same systems that are in EVE Online? Now I'm potentially going to be able to do that in Star Citizen, so I'm super hyped. Running alongside crafting is a full armor system overhaul. So longer are the days essentially where a light fighter like a Gladius could take on an Idris, which is a capital ship, and win 1v1. It makes no sense. That doesn't happen typically in you know, Star Wars or Star Trek. You're going to need actual ships to do damage to other ships that are bigger than themselves to then take out the ship, right? So ships now have real armor, layers that weapons need to penetrate, which means loadouts matter a lot more. You know, matchups matter more, combat becomes a little bit more deliberate, and it's not just a balance tweak, you know, it's a full fundamental change on how these engagements feel. And I think the thing that ties in together is they're going to be adding in a new event this patch called Operation Rockbreaker, which is a new multi-stage mission in the Nyx system that lets players choose between shared or exclusive access to mission areas. So it's more dynamic, more varied, as a clear step forward away from the static loops like run to this bunker and shoot these guys and then run away and go to the next one, right? For a new player, this is essentially the kind of content that would want you to stick around for, right? You're definitely going to be wanting to play content like this, and I think they experimented it a bit with 4.6 and Alliance Aid, giving people the options to essentially jump into a bigger community of players. I know with the Rockbreaker operation, you're going to need multiple players to essentially complete these things, so it's starting to feel more like a community loop, which is really awesome. On top of all of that, inventory is going to be improved. Thank goodness. The inventory system sucked. They're overhauling the UI. They're going to make it a lot easier to transfer essentially your inventory from your ship to your person to maybe another box around you, right, or other components around you. It's going to be a lot easier to use the inventory in total. So 4.7 essentially is getting systems to work all at once better. They're reinforcing other systems that wouldn't have been reinforced before, and essentially this is maturing Star Citizen into its final form. To get into, I guess, why it's taking so long for development, Star Citizen has, and their team, CIG, Cloud Imperium Gaming, have been working on a project called Squadron 42 for a little while as well, which is their standalone single-player campaign that acts as a prequel towards the Star Citizen universe and timeline. So it's also a big aspect, because once they've completed Squadron 42, and it seems as if they've already completed it and they're pretty much just fixing bugs right now within the Squadron 42 player base so that they can release that this year, they'll be moving their entire team that was working on Squadron to Star Citizen again, so then they can start fleshing out Star Citizen, and we should be able to see a 1.0 launch for Star Citizen essentially next year if Squadron 42 launches this year, and hopefully before the end of the year as well. You know, with that being said, what they've been talking about is, you know, their AI behavior, flight mechanics, animation systems has been overall polished. Now it's getting a lot more clear that they are going to be pushing that out this year, right? Those systems, when they hit the bar in the single player experience, they're definitely going to be transferring that over to the persistent universe in Star Citizen, making Star Citizen way closer to the 1.0 launch that we want. So personally, in my opinion, now is the time to actually get into Star Citizen, right? A year ago, getting into Star Citizen meant accepting a lot of rough edges in exchange for, you know, glimpses of something special. That trade-off kind of still exists. There are still bugs, still work to be done on certain areas of the game, but balance kind of has shifted, right? There's now enough structure and enough stability, enough depth across some of the gameplay paths that you can start actually building something, you know, a play style, a progression, a reason to kind of log back in, right? 4.7 is arriving at a strong moment as well, because Squadron 42 is feeding quality back into the game. You know, they're essentially testing certain things in Squadron 42 that they're going to be putting into Star Citizen, right? The universe is expanding. So if you've been on the fence, this is a genuinely good time to take a look at Star Citizen. Star Citizen is essentially still being built, right? But in reality, right, we are the testers of what they're building, and the version you're playing today is the most complete, most stable, and most worth your time version that has ever existed, and it's only going to be going in one direction. So I would say come see for yourself, drop a comment in this video to let me know where you're at. If you're a first-time player, a returning player, you know, you're still on the fence, I genuinely like to know. Also, if you're new to the game, I'm gonna drop a link to my code. It's a referral code. You guys can use it. You guys, I believe, get 40,000 AUEC when you start the game using the code, so you'll jump in with a bit of money as well. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, leave a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, leave a thumbs down. I don't care either way. I just want to know how you guys are expecting to see this game shape up for the next year, and if you're excited to jump in, I'd love to know that as well. Thank you so much, and if you feel free to subscribe, please do. I appreciate your support. This is Silenox signing out. Peace.